You're watching the Emmy Award-winning Richard French live, only on RNN.
And welcome back. Public defenders, they're notoriously overworked, their turnover high, and their pay low. But now, many of these government-appointed lawyers say because of the state budget cuts and the rise in caseloads, they have been pushed to the breaking point. Our own Regina Orsani, she's been granted access to follow a public defender here in New York and was able to get an inside look at how they're handling the case overload. And obviously it's not just in New York, but the perspective you got, it opened some eyes.
Correct, Rich. All over the country, public defenders are either refusing to take on new cases or filing lawsuits asking that they be allowed to refuse cases they cannot ethically handle. But here in New York, they're taking a different approach, one that the state's Legal Aid Society hopes will solve this escalating problem.
Public defender Adam Heyman handles an average of 150 clients at any given time.
I've had 30 indicted felonies and 120 misdemeanors. I mean, can you imagine how many people that is?
Yeah.
You know, and you do the best you can.
On a typical morning, you'll find him in his Brooklyn office catching up on paperwork and preparing for the day ahead. On today's list, Adam's representing 6 clients. Normally, he says, that number is higher.
I typically represent between 10 and 15 clients, depending upon where the case is going. It could be something just as procedural, just walking into court, getting paperwork from the prosecutor's office, trying to get a case dismissed, or it could be something as heavy as starting a trial.
Adam tells me out of the 6 cases he has on his plate this morning, 2 are trial ready. A reason why he admits he spent more time lately working on those cases rather than others.
You know, you try to give as much effort to all of them, as you should, but sometimes, in this case, this weekend was dedicated to the heavier case because the guy's looking at 15 to life, and those are the consequences. Just as the ER doctor makes the guy with the headache sit in the waiting room longer than the guy who's bleeding and is about to die. I mean, it's that same sort of process.
It's a balancing act that he says doesn't make his day any less frantic, just somewhat easier to manage. A day filled with talking to clients on his cell phone as he heads to court, even running the courthouse stairs to save time as he jumps from one courtroom to the next to meet his clients. Many of whom have lesser felonies like drug possession, burglary, some even charged with something as little as not paying their subway fare. Between hushed conversations with them in the hallway,
I tried to push the judge just dismiss it outright.
And dealing with the art of rescheduling things on his calendar because sometimes clients don't show.
The pink things are things that are on for trial. The yellow highlighted things are things that are institutional assignments.
Adam tells me that handling his caseload is doable, but takes hard work.
You try to do the best you can, and we're doing it, but it's a lot of work. And if you're going to be providing people with free representation, and you want that level of representation to be of a level of quality that you think any person deserves, regardless of whether they can afford it or not, you need to lessen our caseload so that we can be as thorough as possible.
Many public defenders like Adam are working overtime because in this worsening economy, arrests are up and budgets are shrinking. In New York, the $90 million budget set aside for criminal defense was reduced $2.7 million this year. That means less money for public defenders, even though the number of cases keeps climbing.
Over the last several years, our annual criminal defense caseload has increased from 210,000 cases in 2006 to some 227,000 cases this past year.
The story is similar in other parts of the country. In Missouri, the state hasn't hired anyone for the last 8 years, even though the annual caseload has grown by 12,000. And in Florida, in the 11th District Court, the budget was cut by 12.6% in the last 2 years. The problem is the caseload there has jumped by 29% over the last 4 years. Pace Law School professor Adele Bernhardt says her biggest fear is the impact that this type of rushed justice is having on the system.
We want a criminal justice system that accurately differentiates guilt from innocence. If they have too many cases, they can't do that.
So are you saying that most likely because they have too many cases, they're going to walk out in the hallway and they're going to actually put pressure on these people to plead guilty?
They can't help it. If you've got 40 files sitting on your desk, and tomorrow there'll be another 40, and the next day there'll be some number after that, You can't help, even with all of the best intentions of the world, in the world.
A big reason why New York State has recently agreed to install a caseload cap.
The legislature has passed a law requiring the chief administrative judge to issue a rule setting limits on the numbers of cases that criminal defense lawyers in New York City can handle in a given year. This rule is coming against a background of national studies focusing on excessive caseloads and the connection between excessive caseloads and wrongful convictions.
Although the exact caseload cap amount has yet to be decided, there's been talk that the cap would lower the amount of cases a public defender has at one time from over 100 to just around 70. This is supposed to take effect during the 2010 and 2011 fiscal year and take about 4 years before all caseloads are reduced to the appropriate level.
That when a New Yorker is charged with a crime, that New Yorker is entitled to a constitutionally mandated representation to protect against wrongful convictions. With fewer cases, lawyers can provide the kind of representation that New Yorkers are entitled to.
There's always more you can do, but what we do here is we try our best, and we try to do the best that we can. And I think we do a pretty good job, but I think what's going on now with the legislature and pushing for these case caps is a good thing.
Now, once the caseload cap is instilled, the criminal defense system will face another tough question: how to handle the cases that fall over the cap. Experts I spoke to say there are two possible solutions. Number one, they can reevaluate the amount of arrests made per year. Or number two, they can hire more public defenders, which in turn will require a significant increase in funds at a time when both the city and the state face large budget shortfalls. Rich?
So with fewer money, that last option doesn't look too realistic. So either they got to say we're going to stop making arrests and, maybe for some nonviolent offenses, i.e. drugs, or you say more people are going to sit in there cooling their heels and have more of a crowding in prisons.
Yeah, I think they just really need to look at the whole system in general, find out why they're making these arrests, if the misdemeanors, if they should make arrests for as small as misdemeanor as skipping a subway toll or not. And that's what's putting the overload on the system in general.
Thank you very much, Regina. Now, another round of hot topics that is coming your way right after the break. Stay with us.